Hi, it's Molly. Welcome back to my YouTube channel as we're going to take a look at the chart for the Venus star point in Leo, which is exact on August 13th, 2023. So you want to identify where you have 20 degrees of Leo in your natal astrology chart, as this is where the Sun and Venus retrograde are exactly conjunct at 20 degrees, 28 minutes. And you would identify the house in your natal chart where this is occurring for you, because the house is the location or environment of life where the energy is being activated. Now, this is called an inferior conjunction, where retrograde Venus meets up with the Sun and begins a new Venus cycle. Now, every new cycle is also an ending of a previous cycle. So this begins a new 8-year cycle and completes an 8-year cycle that began around these same degree points in your chart. That last cycle began August 2015 at 22 degrees of Leo. And with the Venus star point energies and the conjunction to the Sun, there are multiple patterns at play here. And I want to keep it simple because this can become confusing. But essentially, when Venus has this inferior conjunction to the Sun, meaning she's retrograde, she's conjunct the Sun, every 8 years, it moves backwards 2 degrees. So in 2015, it was at 22 degrees. In 2031, it will be at 18 degrees. So this can help identify where this energy has been moving in reverse in your chart, so that you can see where you have been evolving these particular energies in yourself and in your life. Now, the new Venus energy, which is what this is, begins a new 8-year cycle, and this new energy peaks 4 years from now when Venus has it's called a full Venus in 4 years in August 2027, and that's when it'll occur at 19 degrees of Leo. Now, the full Venus is essentially when the energies of this time come to their peak, their fruition. They have blossomed and grown into the new cycle. So at this time, in August 2023, it is very important to be intentional around what you want to manifest around Leo themes as they relate to the house placement in your chart. So we're looking at two things, okay? The 20 degrees of Leo conjunction here that creates a new Venus cycle, and then the house placement, which is where that energy is going to develop and ripen for you. Now, the new Venus energy here is allowing you to be very intentional with what you want to create. Leo being the energy of creation, Venus being love, connections, relationships, partnerships, finances, prosperity, abundance, creativity, how you use your energy, your gifts, your talents, how you also strengthen your courage to share your gifts in the world. And when Venus is conjunct the Sun, Venus is moving slowly, and the Sun, especially the intensity of the Sun as it's in its home sign of Leo, blasts new energy, new ideas, new inspiration, new light codes from the Sun, new ways of creating. It also amplifies the Leo themes of love, desire, and attraction. And that's why this particular Venus star point is the beginning of a new cycle around love, connections, partnerships, everything I just described. and asking you to be very clear in what you want to manifest next. And so this could be a time, especially when Venus is conjunct the sun, which, by the way, you can't see her. And I'm saying with our bare eyes. This is part of the astronomy, where you can't see Venus when she's this close to the sun. And so there's something here too where she is preparing to go backstage. And so with this energy, the sun is giving Venus new energy, warmth, light, ideas, life force. And then Venus goes behind the sun, which is a bit like going backstage. Will travel behind the sun. And this is where the energy is deeply internalized. It's more reflective. It's a cocoon, a creative cocoon, where there could be things here that you are receiving this from the sun, this solar consciousness of potentials and ideas. And then Venus goes behind the sun to sit with it, to be with it, to integrate it, to consider it, determine if it's correct for her. Do I want this? How much do I want this? Am I going to create this for myself? And so I feel like there is this deep internalization after this exact conjunction, where Venus needs now time to allow the energy from the inferior conjunction to really sit with her, to be in her energy, to ponder it, look at where the energy rises, where she feels inspired and motivated. It's a personal, reflective period. And this is where we are supported in gaining clarity on what we want to create. But I feel like with this particular new Venus, it is important to consider some factors here in this chart. Now, here we have this Chiron, 19 degrees of Aries, 46 minutes retrograde, trining both the sun and Venus. So this brings in the healing journey you've been on and what you've learned about yourself and your needs and who you are now, and what you need in your life that honors that experience or experiences you've been through and or that you're currently healing through. This Chiron, the glyph is a key. The keys to your healing, we call Chiron the wounded healer, because first it reveals the wound, the vulnerability, the insecurity, the doubts, the things that you're not sure you can handle or do. And in Aries, it's giving us the confidence to tackle something, to go for it, to understand what you're capable of, and to work on that healing of the wound for yourself. Now, this Chiron, however, one of the lower expressions of Chiron is that it can be your unconscious victim energy. People get locked into victim consciousness loops, and that can show up in so many ways. So Chiron reveals where we have a weakness, and then we have choices around how to approach it. But ultimately, how to keep loving ourselves, accepting ourselves through those realizations, removing anything around having to always do it on your own, which is the Aries spirit, but instead softening into a part of yourself that can accept support, that can accept others and their assistance, their guidance, their wisdom, especially as it supports a healing process. So this Chiron trining this Venus and the sun signifies healing connections, people or energies, creations that represent more of your healed state, if that's where you're at, more of who you are now, where you could feel new, fresh, a new sense of self emerging. This could also be very honest with yourself around any healing cycles or victim consciousness cycles you've been in connections and relationships, and to do it differently. So you can draw in or connect with people with that healing frequency. And because it's a trine and it's a fire sign, there is motivation here, inspiration. There's the desire to spiritually grow. And to maybe even have some connections that are a little bit softer. They're more authentic, they're more real. You know, the kinds of connections and conversations you have with people that are authentic, where you don't have to be in the ego, which is the Aries or the strong Leo here. It's not an ego connection, it's a heart-based connection that brings in new people, different people, and you can talk about what you've been through or how you've changed, how you've evolved, what you've learned. So this feels really lovely to have this Chiron trining Venus and the Sun, because Venus is our attraction. What we attract consciously and unconsciously, what we pull in, what we're drawn to. And maybe you're finding, I'm interested, or I want people in my life who are doing their healing work and or have healed through some things, especially because this Chiron in Aries is now approaching the last decan of Aries. It's at 19 degrees, which is the second decan, but there is turning point energies as Chiron moves into the third decan, especially in 2024. But for this particular energy, it really supports showing up in your truth and in your authenticity. And that can feel very invigorating. That can give you a new lease on life, a new desire to go for something or to try something or to connect with people on that same frequency. The other strong energy here in this chart is how both the Sun and Venus are squaring this Uranus at 22 degrees of Taurus, 58 minutes, so almost 23 degrees. And that square from Uranus to both the Sun and Venus is a shakeup. It's jolting. It could be something shaking the heart, shaking what you need, shaking what you want. And it's meant to be an awakening. So this can be a square that breaks you out of patterns, that shows you more of what you want or desire, but you've got to do it differently. You've got to make changes. You've got to be willing to understand your own habit, patterns, or routines in the Leo areas of your chart. And this is where the shakeup is fast moving, and that can be a lot, especially for the fixed signs that don't want to be blindsided, don't prefer surprises. And it's interesting because, as I said, Venus then goes behind the Sun, and as she travels behind the Sun, she needs time to process those new potentials, the jolting development, something that awakens her to more of what's in her heart. And this is where we can make some really key changes in the next 8-year cycle. This new Venus is learning to do relationships differently. A more evolved, true, authentic, genuine connection that is even more vulnerable, which is part of Chiron, where you share your vulnerability. There's a realness with that Chiron. And then the Uranus square being one of disrupting those patterns and maybe seeing something. I mean, this can be some really fascinating insights that you receive, especially if you have planets or points between 20 and 23 degrees of the fixed signs. Some really fascinating insights here around what you need that you haven't experienced before. what you need in connections, what your heart needs, what your Venus needs, that relates to your self-worth. And Venus is the ruler of this Uranus in Taurus, as well as this Jupiter in Taurus, because Taurus is ruled by Venus. So I feel like this is perhaps pushing yourself, or the universe pushing you, or something where there is the requirement of wanting more, needing more, and this can be up-leveling in your self-worth and self-value. And maybe it's even realizing, I want relationships in my life that look like this, or that go deeper into this, or whatever it might be for you. This is something about doing those connections differently. This is also awakening more of anything that's been dormant in the Leo energies around your creativity, your self-expression, who you are, feeling new courage to be yourself in the world, and allowing this Uranus to shake off any stagnation or fears around being seen. So this could really be showing you more of the truth in your heart, because I'm feeling it as dormant energies in our hearts that maybe we gave up on, or just thought, no, that's not possible for me, or I won't have that, or that isn't something I think I'll ever receive. This is activating new potentials to receive exactly what you need and what you want, that is really good for your heart. Now, Leo is connected with what we love, what we desire, what we're attracted to. This is actually unconscious attraction. It's more primal. It's more like, I just like this kind of, person, whether it's a person or even items that you buy, you bring into your home because it's your style, it's your aesthetic. That's also part of the Taurus energy here. And so I feel this as a big jolting wake up to what exactly you want to experience, attract, and move through in this new 8-year cycle that takes you into territory you haven't been in before, which can be very disruptive even to, what we think is possible. But I mean that as a positive disruption, because the universe can create anything and everything, but it does require your desire for it, your intentionality. We also have this Jupiter moving very slowly at 14 degrees of Taurus. And as Venus retrogrades back to 12 degrees of Leo, Venus is going to be in an ongoing square with this Jupiter in Taurus for a number of weeks. And what's interesting is that Venus retrogrades back to 12 degrees of Leo and stations direct September 3rd. And within 24 hours, Jupiter will be at 15 degrees of Taurus and station retrograde. So they're both changing directions within 24 hours of each other, and that's keeping them locked into this ongoing square. Jupiter squaring Venus can be this magnification of what you want, what you desire, but you don't know how to go for it, because the square is a tension, but with Venus, it's a softer tension of desire and attraction, and I want what I want. And the Jupiter square is all or nothing. It comes in big, it's front and center, it's right there, or it's removed and it leaves, and you can feel a huge void. So there is no middle ground when Jupiter is squaring, especially Venus. And I feel this as an ongoing tension. Like there's this tension between Venus wanting something, desiring it, feeling that it's possible, but how? How do I create it? How do I get there? And what we see in this chart is that the energy of both these planets in Taurus beautifully connect with Mercury and Mars in Virgo, and they have the plan of action, the process, how to improve, how to take steps forward. And it's specific in Virgo. It's also something that brings in the details, the small things to do to put it together in order to move something forward. But what it feels like is this energy of the new Venus. It's going to be working with these earth signs that have the plan. And the universe has the plan. It's like, here's how I'm seeing the energy. You have this very powerful conjunction with retrograde Venus and the sun. And they are the life force, the sun being the biggest spotlight, the biggest source of light, warmth, and energy. So it's bubbling. It's bubbling with something it wants to create. And it's sending that energy up here to these planets in Taurus that are like, okay, got it. You're ready to level up. And then I see the signal from the planets in Taurus being sent to the planets in Virgo. They're like, okay, let's do this to get there. So I feel that, yes, it originates here, but I feel it as this, it's like sending out the bat signal, sending up the spotlight that then brings it back down to earth and how to manifest it and create it. Now, as I mentioned, this is the beginning of an 8-year cycle, and there is the 4-year cycle when there's the full Venus. Now, the Venus star point energy actually gets confusing, so I'm trying to just focus in only on the Leo energies here, because we have Venus star points in 5 astrological signs, although they are evolving. And so we're only focused on the Venus in Leo star point. And that's why it's connected to love. Now, we had Venus star point in Capricorn during the last Venus retrograde when she was in Capricorn. And that would have been about your career, your purpose. That star point would have focused on the Capricorn energies, obviously. So in this one, we're focusing on the Leo energies, which is why love is a big deal, which is why creation and your ability to feel good about yourself. This can revitalize your confidence if that's what you intend. This is a good time to write out your intention list or do a vision board or do something that makes it clear and concrete what you want to create in this new cycle that plays out over 4 years and 8 years. And so what do you want to make happen? And I think it's pretty cool that not only do we have this Venus star point, a new 8-year beginning happening on August 13th, but 3 days later, we have the Leo new moon. And the chart looks almost exactly the same. The Leo new moon being at 23 degrees. So we have this power period of Leo energies bringing you new life into these areas of your chart. But because this is a longer cycle with the new Venus, it's about being very intentional in what you're creating as well as what you're ending, since this completes the cycle that began in August 2015 when the Sun and Venus were conjunct at 22. You could also see it as this Venus bringing something to the Sun that she wants, and the Sun energizes it and says, okay, I'm going to go forward, because the Sun always goes forward, and then Venus goes back into her backstage energy, her creative cocoon, and she reconnects to her heart and her solar plexus, which are both connected to that Leo strength. And she does some reprogramming with these energies so that she has that frequency for what she wants that's new and different. Again, that's a big energy here. The new and the different is a big theme with this particular Venus star point. And so there could be some things that you're needing to basically own in your journey in yourself. Own how, things have shown up for you. And this is a beautiful ownership, by the way. This can be like, okay, yes, I created this, I manifested this. Now what's next? The universe loves that question. The universe loves, what are we going to do next? What are we going to create next? It sees you as this powerful energy vessel. And so what are you going to use your energy for? With something that connects to your heart or to what you desire. And maybe, again, something you haven't experienced yet in this lifetime, but you want that to be your intention or your focus in this cycle. So again, powerful energies here for the Venus star point on August 13th, and they are almost exactly the same with the Leo new moon on August 16th. Maybe there's things you want to upgrade in your finances, in your connection, your relationship with money, because we're always in relationship with all energies. You have a relationship with your bank account. You have a relationship with your phone. You have a relationship with anything you buy or you own, right? You brought it in. And so this could be something that it is birthing in you. The new Venus is a birthing of energy. And so what do you want to create in this new cycle that upgrades your relationship to finances, money, abundance, prosperity? This chart says you have the power to do so. Now, your personal chart, your natal chart, is going to feel this energy the most. If you have planets or points, I'm going to say between 12 and 23 degrees of Leo. Now, that is a big span of degrees, and let me explain. I'm saying 12 because Venus goes back to 12 degrees where she stations direct, and she hangs out there for a bit. And while she does so, she's still in that square to Jupiter, which will be at 15 degrees. So I'm going to take it all the way back to 12 degrees and then go to 23 degrees because of this Uranus that is almost at 23 degrees. It actually gets to 23 degrees and stations retrograde August 28th. And 23 degrees of Leo is where we have the upcoming Leo new moon. So it's a big orb of degrees there, 12 to 23. So if you have planets or points there, this can be something that you use the energy in a way that is best for you at this time on your journey. If you do not have planets or points between 12 and 23 degrees of Leo, you still are feeling this energy. It might not be as personally, but you're still feeling it. It's still in your chart, and it's working with the house where you have 20 degrees of Leo. So the Venus star point in Leo, this particular one, again, is more significant because of what it begins and what it ends. So really go into your heart. Go into what you desire. And I feel that the universe is supporting it. It's also supporting you busting out of any limitations. Because the other thing to keep in mind is that the fixed signs can block their own blessings. They can resist it. They can be stubborn. In Leo, it can be too much pride. It can be resistance to change. It can be that energy of, I'm going to go with what I want, only what I want. But the universe is actually requiring growth here. The universe is requiring growth, healing growth. It's almost like somebody can come in who helps you heal. This could be attracting or bringing in a healing friendship, which is also Venus, a healing friendship, a healing partner, a healing lover, a healing individual who also takes you into new territory in relationships, a different experience of relationships. So there's a lot here, and it is a beautiful time to be intentional with what your heart needs, what you want, and the new cycle that's beginning. So thank you so much for joining me as we take a look at this chart. And I hope it's given you some things to ponder and sit with around how you want to use this energy for your best and highest good going forward. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your likes, your subscribes. Appreciate your comments. And thank you to those of you who share these videos in Facebook groups, as I really hope they help more people as well. So take good care. I'll see you back here soon for another video.